they said I had 20 minutes, so I took the over 100 apps and resources that I think you should have, and I narrowed it down to like 3. Now, these are probably not apps that you think every children's ministries leader should have, but I think all of you are already familiar with like the Sabbath School app, right? So I'm not going to talk about anything that you already know or that you use already. I'm coming up with some apps and resources that maybe you aren't aware that they are there, and if you are, then cool. The first one is one that is like addicting. TED Talks. If I'm looking for an illustration or a story or education on a particular topic or subject, I can watch like 10 of these clips, and they vary from 5 minutes to 12 minutes, 20 minutes, etc. TED Talks. This one is TED.com Talks. Okay, and TED, I forgot what it stands for. I knew it used to be Technology, Education, and Development, or ADRA, or something, I don't know. I think they changed it, but how many of you are familiar with TED Talks? Let's see. Okay, great. 23 of you, good. Here's one of the TED Talks. It's about a 10-minute clip, educational. I'm gonna need audio. I forgot to ask about that. But yeah, TED.com Talks. Oh, did you guys remember the clip with the little girl? That was one of the TED Talks that I was watching one night, and my wife stole it. This is a free website, and you can actually download the clips for free. Okay? Is this as far as it goes? Okay, I can move closer. Children's Ministries, we are adaptable. All right, here we go.
So I'm here to tell you that we have a problem with boys, and it's a serious problem with boys. Their culture isn't working in schools, and I'm going to share with you ways that we can think about overcoming that problem. First, I want to start by saying this is a boy, and this is a girl, and this is probably stereotypically what you think of as a boy and a girl. If I essentialize gender for you today, then you can dismiss what I have to say, so I'm not going to do that. I'm not interested in doing that. This is a different kind of boy and a different kind of girl, right? So the point here is that not all boys exist within these rigid boundaries of what we think of as boys and girls. And not all girls exist within those rigid boundaries of what we think of as girls. But, in fact, most boys tend to be a certain way and most girls tend to be a certain way. And the point is that for boys, the way that they exist and the culture that they embrace isn't working well in schools now. How do we know that? The 100 Girls Project tells us some really nice statistics. For example, for every 100 girls that are suspended from school, there are 250 boys that are suspended from school. For every 100 girls who are expelled from school, there are 335 boys who are expelled from school. For every 100 girls in special education, there are 217 boys. For every 100 girls with a learning disability, there are 276 boys. For every 100 girls with an emotional disturbance diagnosed, we have 324 boys. And by the way, all of these numbers are significantly higher if you happen to be black, if you happen to be poor, if you happen to exist in an overcrowded school, all right? And if you are a boy, you're 4 times as likely to be diagnosed with ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Now, there is another side to this, and it is important that we recognize that women still need help in school, that salaries are still significantly lower, even when controlled for job types, and that girls have continued to struggle in math and science for years. That's all true. Nothing about that prevents us from paying attention to the literacy needs of our boys between ages 3 and 13. And so we should. In fact, what we ought to do is take a page from their playbook, because the initiatives and programs that have been set in place for women in science and engineering and mathematics are fantastic. They've done a lot of good for girls in these situations, and we ought to be thinking about how we can make that happen for boys too in their younger years. Even in their older years, what we find is that there's still a problem. When we look at the university, 60% of baccalaureate degrees are going to women now, which is a significant shift. And in fact, university administrators are a little uncomfortable about the idea that we may be getting close to 70% female population in universities. This makes university administrators very nervous, because girls don't want to go to schools that don't have boys. And so we're starting to see the establishment of men's centers and men's studies to think about how do we engage men in their experiences in the university. If you talk to faculty, they may say, yeah, well, they're playing video games and they're gambling online all night long and they're playing World of Warcraft, and that's affecting their academic achievement, right? Guess what? Video games are not the cause. Video games are a symptom. They were turned off a long time before they got here, all right? So let's talk about why they got turned off when they were between the ages of 3 and 13. There are 3 reasons that I believe that boys are out of sync with the culture of schools today. The first is zero tolerance, right? Kindergarten teacher I know, her son donated all of his toys to her. And when he did, she had to go through and pull out all the little plastic guns, right? You can't have plastic knives and swords and axes and all that kind of thing in a kindergarten classroom. What is it that we're afraid that this young man is going to do with this gun? I mean, really, you know? But here he stands as testament to the fact that you can't roughhouse on the playground today. Now, I'm not advocating for bullies. I'm not suggesting that we need to be, allowing guns and knives into school. But when we say that an Eagle Scout in a high school classroom who has a locked parked car in the parking lot and a penknife in it has to be suspended from school, I think we may have gone a little too far with zero tolerance. Another way that zero tolerance lives itself out is in the writing of boys. In a lot of classrooms today, you're not allowed to write about anything that's violent. You're not allowed to write about anything that has to do with video games. These topics are banned. Boy comes home from school and he says, I hate writing. Why do you hate writing, son? What's wrong with writing? Now I have to write what she tells me to write. Okay, well, what is she telling you to write? Poems. I have to write poems. And little moments in my life. I don't want to write that stuff. All right, well, what do you want to write? What do you want to write about? I want to write about video games. I want to write about leveling up. I want to write about this really interesting world. I want to write about a tornado that comes into our house and blows all the windows out and ruins all the furniture and kills everybody. Right? Okay. You tell a teacher that, and they'll ask you in all seriousness, should we send this child to the psychologist? And the answer is no, he's just a boy. He's just a little boy. All right? It's not okay to write these kinds of things in classrooms today. So that's the first reason, zero tolerance policies and the way they're lived out. The next reason that boys' cultures are out of sync with school cultures, there are fewer male teachers. Anybody who's over 15 doesn't know what this means, because in the last 10 years, the number of elementary school classroom teachers has been cut in half. We went from 14% to 7%. That means that 93% of the teachers that our young men get in elementary classrooms are women. All right? Now, what's the problem with this, right? Women are great. Yep, absolutely. But male role models for boys that say it's all right to be smart. They've got dads, they've got pastors, they've got Cub Scout leaders, but ultimately 6 hours a day, 5 days a week, they're spending in a classroom. And most of those classrooms are not places where men exist. And so they say, I guess this really isn't a place for boys. This is a place for girls. And I'm not very good at this, so I guess I'd better, go play video games or get into sports or something like that, because I obviously don't belong here. Men don't belong here, that's pretty obvious. So that may be a very direct way that we see it happen. But less directly, the lack of male presence in the culture, you've got a teacher's lounge and they're having a conversation about Joey and Johnny, who beat each other up on the playground, what are we going to do with these boys? The answer to that question changes depending on who's sitting around that table. Are there men around that table? Are there moms who've raised boys around that table? You'll see that the conversation changes depending upon who's sitting around the table. Third reason that boys are out of sync with school today. Kindergarten is the old second grade, folks. We have a serious compression of the curriculum happening out there. When you're 3, you better be able to write your name legibly, or else we'll consider it a developmental delay. By the time you're in first grade, you should be able to read paragraphs of text with maybe a picture, maybe not, in a book of maybe 25 to 30 pages. If you don't, we're probably going to be putting you into a Title I special reading program. And if you ask Title I teachers, they'll tell you they've got about 4 or 5 boys for every girl that's in their program in the elementary grades. The reason that this is a problem is because the message that boys are getting is you need to do what the teacher asks you to do all the time, all right? The teacher's salary depends on No Child Left Behind and Race to the Top and accountability and testing and all of this. So she has to figure out a way to get all of these boys through this curriculum, and girls. This compressed curriculum is bad for all active kids. And what happens is she says, please, sit down, be quiet, do what you're told, follow the rules, manage your time, focus, be a girl. That's what she tells them. Indirectly, that's what she tells them. And so this is a very serious problem. Where is it coming from? It's coming from us. Right? We want our babies to read when they are 6 months old. Have you seen the ads? We want to live in Lake Wobegon where every child is above average, right? But what this does to our children is really not healthy. It's not developmentally appropriate, and it's particularly bad for boys. So what do? We need to meet them where they are. We need to put ourselves into boy culture. We need to change the mindset of acceptance in boys in elementary schools. More specifically, we can do some very specific things. We can design better games. Most of the educational games that are out there today are really flashcards, right? They're glorified drill and practice. They don't have the depth, the rich narrative that really engaging video games have, that the boys are really interested in. So we need to design better games. We need to talk to teachers and parents and school board members and politicians. We need to make sure that people see that we need more men in the classroom. We need to look carefully at our zero tolerance policies. Do they make sense? We need to think about how to uncompress this curriculum if we can, trying to bring boys back into a space that is comfortable for them. All of those conversations need to be happening. There are some great examples out there of schools that the New York Times just talked about. A school recently, a game designer from the New School put together a wonderful video gaming school, right? But it only treats a few kids. And so this isn't really very scalable. We have to change the culture and the feelings that politicians and school board members and parents have about the way we accept and what we accept in our schools today. We need to find more money for game design because good games, really good games, cost money, and World of Warcraft has quite a budget. Most of the educational games do not. Where we started, my colleagues, Mike Petner, Sean Vashaw, and myself, we started by trying to look at the teachers' attitudes and find out how do they really feel about gaming? What do they say about it? And we discovered that they talk about the kids in their school who talk about gaming in pretty demeaning ways. They say, oh yeah, they're always talking about that stuff. They're talking about their little action figures and their little achievements or merit badges or whatever it is that they get, you know, and they're always talking about this stuff. And they say these things as if it's okay, but if it were your culture, think of how that might feel. It's very uncomfortable to be on the receiving end of that kind of language. They're nervous about anything that has anything to do with violence because of the zero tolerance policies. They are sure that parents and administrators will never accept anything. So we really need to think about looking at teacher attitudes and finding ways to change the attitudes so that teachers are much more open and accepting of boy cultures in their classrooms. Because ultimately, if we don't, then we're going to have boys who leave elementary school saying, well, I guess that was really just a place for girls. It wasn't for me, you know, so I've got to do gaming or I've got to do sports. If we change these things, if we pay attention to these things and we re-engage boys in their learning, they will leave the elementary schools saying, I'm smart. Thank you.
of the things that I just wanted to point out is that I think this is something that we can identify with in the church. If boys are getting the message that it's not masculine to be smart, or school is not a place for boys, the numbers are demonstrating that less and less young adult males are going on to university and college. Well, isn't that something that may be happening at church as well? Look at the ratio of females in children's ministry, okay, to males. Maybe that is something that we need to think about and consider. Let's recruit more men as role models. Real men do children's ministries. Amen to that. Okay, that's TED Talks. TED Talks. You can check that out. Now here's a really cool app that I use quite a bit. Pluggedin.com. They also have a website, but this is an app. I have it on my smartphone. How many of you love going to the movies and just keeping up with all the movies that Hollywood produces, and you're up to date, and when the children walk into your classroom on Sabbath morning, or when kids talk about movies, you know exactly what they're talking about. How many of you are up to date with all that? Excellent. We're Adventist. Pluggedin.com is a really cool website because it was launched by Focus on the Family, and we're going to go to pluggedin.com. I'm there now, and it gives you a rating from a Christian perspective on movies. But you guys are in children's ministry, so let's pick another movie, one that is more child friendly. Okay. The Good Dinosaur? Okay, we'll click on The Good Dinosaur. And then there's 5 plugs. The number of plugs determines or tells us how family friendly, child friendly the movie is. So if it has 5 plugs out of 5, that means that it's 99% safe for a Christian child. This one, The Good Dinosaur, has 3.5 plugs. Now, that's just an overview, but what I really like about this resource is that it gives you a review, and then it also gives you, every movie has all these sections, positive elements. It'll tell you what positive elements from a Christian perspective the movie has. It will also give you spiritual content in the movie, sexual content, none, violent content, crude or profane language. I find that today our kids are so desensitized to profane language that they'll say, "Oh, I saw this movie, The Good Dinosaur, and it's clean. It doesn't have any language, any bad language in it." Well, according to pluggedin.com, there is one unfinished bull poop. We also hear dang and shoot, veggie cursing, name calling, etc., and drug and alcohol content, other negative elements, a conclusion. So you can pretty much find out from pluggedin.com whether that is a movie that is appropriate for a Christian young person, a Christian child. Okay, now some of you may think, well, I just stay away completely from movies altogether. Well, that's wonderful, and I respect that, but the reality is that we have a lot of our kids in our ministries that are going to movies, okay? And if they talk about these things, if you hear something, you can just go to pluggedin.com, read a little bit about it, and then you're all of a sudden an expert on what they're talking about. One of the things that I would encourage you to do is to be positive and take every opportunity to teach. You use them as teachable moments. For example, We were in a gathering back in October. It was our Pathfinder Camporee. And one of the kids who was sitting in the front row had this T-shirt, and it had an image of Star Wars, okay? And then one of my staff, I'm not going to name any names, but one of my staff members also had a T-shirt with like a Star Wars character. And I'm thinking, okay, this is, I mean, I can't control what the kids do, but I mean, if you're part of my staff, I don't want you wearing anything. So I decided, and I think this was, I'm convinced the Holy Spirit just impressed me to say and do this, and it was just a spur of the moment. I'm up front, and I see this kid with a T-shirt, and then I see my staff wearing this T-shirt, so I call my staff up, and then I call the kid up, and I say, hey, I see that you have, this T-shirt that's got a Star Wars character, and I said, are you guys related? Is this kid, your little brother? And no, and ha ha ha. And then I said, how many of you guys are into Star Wars and superheroes, Superman? And so kids are like, yeah. And I said, there's a story. There's a common thread in all these stories, good versus evil. I said, if you guys want to read like the most fascinating story, the best story in regards to good versus evil, there's this really cool book. It's called The Great Controversy. I said, you guys should check it out. And that was it. And I asked the kid to sit down and told the young man, thanks. And that was it. I did not point them out and say, why are you wearing that T-shirt? I did not, scold them in public. I took that as an opportunity to encourage our kids to go to the Great Controversy. I'm being told that I have 2 minutes left. My time is up. Okay, they stole this next app from me because I gave it to them, and I'm gonna finish with this. This app is called Blurt. You can get it at the App Store, and this is probably the best app that you will ever download onto your phone. It's free. Okay, and this app allows you to type in messages and then just show them on your smartphone like this. Oh wait, that's not the one that I wanted to show you guys. This one here, like say you're holding your VBS program and you're standing in the back and you're trying to get people's attention, like you guys were doing just now. You just hold your smartphone up. You can type in any message, and then you just hold it up, and especially if the lights are dim or whatever, but isn't this like very, very visible? You just hold up your smartphone. It's called Blurt. It's free, okay? Blurt. You can use it at church. Yeah, next Sabbath, all the church members are bringing Blurt. Pastor, it's already 12 o'clock. Okay, get off stage. Okay, I see you. However, Melanie told me that I could take more time if I wanted. Okay, this is the last one, I promise. vidangel.com, and I promise this is my last one. I'm going to take you there. vidangel.com, okay? This is a resource that you can share with the families at church, because again, the ideal is for us to not spend time, with garbage. That's the ideal. The reality is that a good number of our families and our children are watching garbage. That's a reality. Now, VidAngel allows you to take any movie, for example, my favorite movie, Nacho Libre isn't here. But you notice these are movies that are currently being watched on Netflix by a lot of our kids, etc. But let's take, for example, this movie, The Minions, okay? We're going to watch it now. So vidangel.com gives you the ability to edit the movie. So I'm going to buy this movie. I'm not going to buy it in HD. I'm going to buy it in SD because HD is too expensive. It's $2 versus $1. Okay, confirm purchase. Now you do have to set up an account. Okay, so you need an email address. confirm your purchase, and now I have just purchased the movie. Now I've purchased the movie for $20. That's the cost of the movie. Because in order for me to be able to edit the movie, I need to own it, okay? So I've purchased the movie. Now I can edit the movie however I want, but once I watch the movie, after I watch the movie, VidAngel will buy it back from me for $18, in this case $19. So the total cost to me is $1. That's what I paid to watch the movie. But look, check this out. Minions is rated PG, okay? What you'll hear, here's miscellaneous opening credits. If I don't want to sit through the opening credits, I just click here, and I don't have to sit through the opening credits. Closing credits, I don't want to sit through the closing credits. Okay, objectionable, disturbing material. There are 6. A character passes gas. Okay, now you can just click on here, and you won't watch anything. But if you want to go through everything, it'll give you a description of every objectionable, disturbing language, sexual, discriminatory, crude, other languages, etc. So in the movie Minions, we have one sexual reference and one other sexual. So if I don't want to, discriminatory, I'm taking that off. Crude, I don't want to hear that. Other language, what is that? Idiot, gosh, I don't want to hear idiot. I don't want to hear gosh. I don't want to hear that. Sex, nudity, and modesty, I don't want to watch. I just don't want to watch any of that. Violence, blood, gore, I don't want to watch any of that. Alcohol or drug use. So now, I click Save Filters. Okay, seriously, I'm done. Okay, Save Filters. Okay, so now, okay, so now we go. Yes, so now, yes, it will show you, if you go back, it'll show you how much of the movie you've taken out. So it does show you that. So now you watch the movie without all the garbage, okay? So if you want, you can watch 50 Shades of Grey. You take out all the garbage, and you'll watch about 10 seconds of the movie. That's vidangel.com. And
Okay, but is that only to watch on their computer?
yes. Well, here's the thing, that now most smart TVs allow you to watch anything on the internet, okay? So if you guys want a list of these resources and others, I have a list. You can either send me an email, and I'll send you the list of resources, or you can go to azsdayouth.com, our website. On the top menu, click on handouts and forms and handouts, and then just click on Heroes in Cyberspace handout. Okay? Thank you very much.